need to find something else here. They either double down on the mid lane pressure to try to counteract that, or they get a strong side XP, put the Fredrin in the jungle for a strong side jungle as well, control these neutral objectives through the top side of the map.
That means Uranus or Terizla as their pick, I would say. Specifically this fourth slot for Coach Eb, what they want to do is to still apply pressure so that they'll have a good last pick for San.
Here it is, the Lancelot last ban coming in from Geek, denying that away from Onyx. Maybe trying to push it in, the Fredrin into the jungle, but Gord now being picked up. That's a lot of backline pressure. Can Geek solve it here in the two picks that they are going to be able to pick up?
I would say, honestly, the Gord pick, I think, is actually low-key genius here, because the Novaria, one of the things that is strong about the Novaria is the turtle control, because you can provide vision and quite a lot of damage with the first skill, but the Gord can more or less do the same thing in terms of the control. Maybe not the vision, but the control and damage, I would say the Gord can do it just as well.
Yeah, the Gord is traditionally the answer to the Valentina, too.
Oh, wait, that's interesting. I just remembered. This is actually a really good fun fact. This is kind of a rematch from MPLI last year. 493,920 minutes. This is the total amount of minutes from the last encounter of both of these teams when competing in the grand final of MPLI 2022. But during that time, that was a 4-0 for Onyx.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It was a 2-0 start into a full reverse sweep for Onyx.
Oh, really?
It was that close. Geek Fam were able to utilize the crash meta back in the day with Gushin still in the fray. Well, what did you call it? The crash, the burst meta?
The lethal burst meta.
The lethal burst meta, the LBM. And right now for Geek Fam, it's kind of a mix of that. It's kind of like a reflection of that. They want to go for these big fights with some single target damage, but also some proper good AoE CC to back them up. What do Onyx need to do to complete their drafts?
I think the mobility is definitely a big factor, and they need to try and find ways to avoid being captured right here, because with all the crowd control, the heavy spin, the Paquito, the carry with the true damage as well, it's a lot of dangers, but they go for a very interesting pick right there. I think it can work, but it depends on the movement in the map, and especially in the early game.
Yeah, Dyrov last pick. Usually we see that being as a counter towards the Uranus, but here, what do you guys think about what we're seeing from both of the teams?
They want to amplify their killing potential for Onyx, and Dyrov is going to be used in combination with the Cloud because of the minus armor.
I don't know, for me it's always Onyx. I'm all for Onyx the entire series. Don't even need to ask, man.
It's going to be Onyx 4-0, right, LaFell? 4-0 to Onyx is LaFell and Mirko's prediction.
That's got me worried. That's got me worried, and I'm pretty sure Onyx are shaking. As ladies and gentlemen, we see the wings flapping in the background as we bring you into the land of dawn for the first game in this best of 7 series. The Sky Kings are looking to complete their three-peat, but here Geek Fam are looking to overtake the throne. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get straight into it.
The Kings have descended from the skies, and the usurpers from the depths of the underworld, all into the land of dawn as we get to pace ourselves out. You can hear the big gasp of relief as well from the crowd. Like, oh my god, I thought we were gonna have to get straight into it. No, we gotta chill first, ladies and gentlemen. Rashi, tell me what your opinions are, your thoughts are here for this matchup, for draft of Game 1.
Well, first of all, I think it's funny that you mentioned the depths, because in Indonesian, pause means paus, or pause means whale. That's kind of a funny joke in itself. But for Onyx, this Dyrith pick has always been very versatile and allows Onyx to play in a very weird fashion. They don't exactly have an assassin, but they can match up in the damage department. And I think for both teams, there is this big, the big idea is to have multiple types of damage to ensure that the opposition can't really itemize effectively. True damage from Gord and from the carry available for both teams, but I do feel like with the Gord being in the mid lane, it's going to be online a lot earlier. So I think Onyx needs to be very careful and try and find a way to ensure that they can get to the mid game where the carry can have some items, some more security, and if that happens, that's a lot of damage, and you can see how Maki performs when he has that space.
Well, now
I'm wondering how things are going to be in the later stage of the game. I think Onyx and Geek, they have a sort of similarity in which when they draft for that mid pressure, they are going to go in full ham in that early game. But here, who wins that early game?
in the full early game, I feel like Geek definitely has a bit more of an edge here with all the crowd control available. Onyx though has an advantage in a bit more when it comes to the movement speed and the wave clear. So I think when it comes to maneuvering, Onyx will have an advantage. When it comes to an actual all-out brawl, I think Geek will have ways to actually pull that in their favor.
I mean, looking at it now, I feel like the question is early game fights or neutral objectives, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's neutral objective, then obviously I think the Akai will have a better chance compared to the Fredrin in these retribution battles. And here, we do have a bundle fact. Kyrie, thank you MPL, successfully securing the M5 ticket. Coach Jeb, Kyrie, Beloyski, and Marky have been given tickets free to return to their homelands in the Philippines.
And yet, when they bleed, they're gonna bleed red and white.
Maybe yellow and black and red,
Yeah,
right?
okay,
Because
but
the
like,
color of their teams.
Man, like the point of, you know.
Oh, the Indonesian
Exactly,
flag!
thank you.
Oh.
Why did you think red and white?
We're trying to claim
red
them,
and
Mirko.
black, like the Geek Fam
Oh.
team. But what do you mean we're trying to claim them? Beloyski, Marky, Yeb, and Kyrie are all Indonesians.
Exactly.
I'm glad we can't hear Wolf right now.
Wolf
Or
is
can
also
we?
Indonesian.
Let's
Why would
try,
he be
let's
mad?
try ringing him. Hello? Test, Wolf?
Wolf,
Hello?
Are you there?
Test,
Hello?
I don't, see, he always just disappears. It's almost like he's a shadow sometimes.
Yeah, it just goes poof, and before you know it, he's gone. But then you see his impact everywhere else. That's the kind of man Wolf really is.
Oh, we see the Marshal. Let's go into the land of dawn where black ladies and gentlemen, finally we get to see a sneak peek as to what already elapsed here in the first 40 seconds of the game.
Here it is, the land of dawn. 46 seconds in already. Anything interesting in the emblem department? Oh, wow. An early win for Marky on this winning matchup.
Look at something interesting. I think the Purify on CW is almost a given at this point. But San's going with the Flicker. This is his signature style. He's on an immobile mage, but he likes making those flashy plays. He likes going for the Mythic Gush and then flickering forwards. That's his style. But look at Beloyski, already targeted by Onyx as always.
A good stun over. It's not a Beloyski game without 2 deaths at the minimal. A boy prevents that from happening, and Onyx will be able to get control over the enemy jungle.
I can see a lot of emphasis here in the rotations towards the gold lane. Why do you think this is?
Because the gold lane is just so important. Marky is one of the main win conditions, and in the previous few crazy series he's been averaging like 2 or 3 deaths a game. In a game that can trail all the way to like 20 minutes. So I think that is a safe bet, and they can get CW ahead right here. Then the matchup becomes a bit easier for him as well, because there's the true damage, and in the 1v1 duel, the win of nature becomes something that we've already been talking about when it comes to a 1v1 gold laner duel.
But in the early game, is it a carry or a Claude winning that matchup?
I have to say, I think the carry will win it, especially in an all-in. If you can force a Claude, especially on a Purify, to just engage in that fight, it's going to be dangerous for Keyboy.
Good knockup by Nile, forcing that Flicker out. Onyx versus Geek. It's a 3v4 right now, but it's a FA spin now pinning them down, and it should be a free retry as Nile picks it up. Below him, he tosses it up as Luke goes into the back. Keyboy very low, no Flicker. A boy with a good splash of damage, picking one up, and now they're caught in the midst of Onyx. Kyrie and Boots will pin a boy down to secure another. It's 2 kills traded in for 1 kill and a neutral objective. Meanwhile, up top, Blazing Duet, Marky taking very low under the turret, and CW takes a win.
Man, that's aggressive plays from both teams. But then we see it again. If Onyx can outmaneuver and then go in and out of a fight, that's where they can get ahead. Geek Fam with the signature, with the superior burst will be a lot more dangerous as we take a look at the talent's predictions here, especially from our foreign guests.
Oh, but in Indonesia, it's full Geek Fam here. A unanimous vote in that regard. Back to the game though. With that being said, oh, wait a minute. Okay, some damage being put on to a boy here in the mid lane. But with Kyrie and Nile, what's the game plan for Onyx? Because earlier on, Mirko mentioned that when they go in for neutral objectives, Nile on the Akai surely has a little bit of an advantage because of that heavy spin.
I think they go straight for the neutral objective contest without fighting. Nile can definitely come out ahead. But with Onyx having Kyrie in quote-unquote combo with Boots, that's a lot of damage that I think most people won't really expect coming in from the Fredrin. Because you're so used to seeing him doing damage without the addition of that physical defense shred. So Onyx, I think, has to find catches, but now Keyboy.
Good baptism by both, but now it's a knockup, and I'm offended. Beloyski picks up the kill to equalize the kill stat in the 3rd minute of the game. Onyx still holding on to that gold lead for now.
Looking at the gold differences by Ube as gold right here. Still pretty equal, but in the XP lane, that's where our eyes are in. It's still only 100k gold. So I mean, no, 100 gold, not 100k. But
That's
they're
a lot.
They're trying to just equalize. But I think with Sans having the Ice Queens one now, this means that now Geekfam needs to be a bit more careful in their pathing and where they're trying to cross to try and find pickups.
That's some good poke, man. I missed the gush and a taunt from Kyrie to lock them down just for a bit. Niall with the heavy spin a bit late though. Now the baptism and it's CW with the blazing duet to pick it up. Beloy running away. I'm offended connecting on to CW, but he has a BMI placed defensively. Meanwhile, Keyboy has to flicker out, but Marky follows through as well. Holy baptism, one more shot, but it's Kyrie still with the retry, who secures it, jumps in onto Luke. Now dealing some damage as Luke jumps in as well. It's just a quick knockout strike as he clears the mid lane to provide a boy with some assistance.
Now that was initiated preferably from GeekFam, and that's what we were talking about in terms of neutral objective take, right? Because flat out, it feels like Niall has a little bit more of an advantage than Kyrie, but this is the results that we're given. Onyx, they have been able to make things messy, they've been able to make things a little bit more in favor of them, and now Kyrie is actually a level ahead, and Niall just secured that level 8.
So what's important to note here is it's the golden advantage that you see action in the EXP as well. Onyx trying to use that movement speed, try and gank as many lanes, swing it in their favor. But for GeekFam, I think the main issue here is Niall is the main front line, but also the main contestant for the neutral objective. We're seeing this trend where the Akai moves forward, has the heavy spin, but is going to be forced to burn it out or even get picked off before the objective is even low enough to contest. GeekFam must find a way to try and get in that zone without really sacrificing too much HP from Niall or Bloisky.
Audience prediction though by the Samsung Galaxy S23 Series 5G still heavily favors Onyx for this particular game. But here it is. Are they going to go for something here? It turns out they won't.
Nope, still too slow. No neutral objective for both these teams. They center around those neutral objectives. That Gord for mid-clear, and obviously Fredrin on the hands of Kyrie. Same thing goes for GeekFam with that Akai. Abloisky is looking for a gank in the bottom lane where Boots is very immobile. Has the flicker, gets out. But it's a big resource spent. 18 seconds before the turtle spawns.
Without the flicker available, it's going to be a bit difficult for Boost to find ways to get in there or be aggressive enough without a way out. But Onyx, they're putting their attention on the top side, putting Kibo there, perhaps to trap Luke. Might just work out, but it's a Paquito on a sprint, on a cooldown. But the Quantum Charge here can allow him to move a lot faster, and everyone's just parading away down to the turtle pit.
Ooh, an aggressive heavy spin. That is a very costly mistake if it doesn't work out. Boost gets brought back to the team. The Mystic Gush stolen away. A boy now melting him down. Now cancel out with Mystic Gush and a blazing duet to the back line. And it's even a taunt. A big one for Onyx. Kyrie picks up the double, but Niall picks up the turtle. Now it's Marky in the bush, getting out. Luke trying to run away, but Kyrie stops that dash from happening. Able to just get out from a different wave. And it's GeekFam with, Niall almost just assassinating CW there in the mid lane.
That was nearly a worth it trade, 2-2 if they were able to get that pick onto CW. But face value is it was a 2-1 plus GeekFam was still able to secure the turtle. This was Niall a level below of Kyrie.
That's the Akai power, but it's also because the Onyx was focusing more on going for those kills. I mean, I have no idea how Sans even survived that. Moving so aggressively on a gourd, but then slipping right past, right point blank to GeekFam's members, and still coming out unscathed. Bloisky with the I'm offended though will not be able to find Keyboy, and his positioning in this game has been so good. No one has been able to get to him without really exerting some kind of resource.
And now it's a slow game again. Both these teams will always only fight for neutral objectives unless they see someone overextend, overcommit. The highest level of MLBB in Indonesia right now, and this is what you're watching.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone is just, they understand the stakes. They understand. Both teams, Onyx want to keep their kingdom going. They want to keep their dynasty alive. But here, Geek, they're looking to threaten that. But Onyx, at this point, 8 minutes in, still a 1k gold lead.
Rashi, it almost feels like the 1,000 gold lead in these matches, even yesterday, feels like not a gold lead. Almost every time you have a gold lead, you're going to lose it.
I think the execution really evens it out. In these games, in this matchup especially, if you're gonna have a gold lead and I want to brag about it, I think it has to be at least 1.5 to 2k gold. CW though taken very low, but with the flash of the Oasis completed, Keyboy going to be such a nuisance to the burst heavy composition from GeekFam. Below 20%, you get a big shield, and Keyboy
Yo, what?
always going to be around.
A boy just got picked off. That's a mega kill for Kyrie. 4th kill in this game. And it's Sans who provided that damage. Oniker's going straight for the Lord. And GeekFam might not be able to contest for this, but they're looking for a CW. No. Purify, but is able to escape with the BMI right now. The Holy Baptism connects onto Beloy. CW jumps back, dealing a bit more damage. Sans with the burn. That's the glowing wand dealing the damage, but it's not enough. Marky put some damage back. Now it's Niall in the midst against Kyrie. Pops in a heavy spin right now, but the Lord is not low enough. They're looking for it. They're looking to burst it down. Niall will fall before he even can go for that retry battle, and it's Kyrie who secures it with the retry.
That's a 2,400 gold lead instantly secured by Onyx in the 9th minute of the game. Beautifully executed, and the cool thing about this particular game is this is Keyboy Onyx, a Rafaela of all heroes. You wouldn't say that this is particularly adjacent to his style, to his identity, and yet he's still really good at the cover, and he's also really good at the initiation.
That's the crazy part. I think Onyx knows that GeekFam is expecting the crazy Keyboy plays. He's playing a Rafaela, and he's counter-engaging. Every time Niall comes in with a heavy spin, he gets Holy Blessinged. And then Luke as well earlier. Seems like Onyx are just playing reactively, trying to make sure that GeekFam are the ones overextending to try and secure the neutral objective, like we saw earlier. But without the right scouting, without the right intelligence, they can't really get in the right moments, and Onyx is baiting them using that fact.
And it was just so perfectly timed, right? Even Miracle mentioned earlier on that 1k gold lead that Onyx was able to build feels still like a stalemate, and yet just that entire momentum shifted into the hands of the Sky Kings, the Yellow Porcupines, and one by one, these turrets are going to fall from GeekFam.
Ooh, Luke's dealing a good amount of damage, but CW is dealing more. They even commit the Mystic Gush, a bit of overkill, but when you have a 5,000 gold lead, you can afford it.
Oh.
Beloy is offended. He brings Keyboy back, but the healing from that photo and the Holy Healing grants him all the HP back to get the trade back, turn it around onto Beloy.
2-0.
That was crazy. The pre-placement on the field by Sans as well to predict where Beloy is trying to escape to. This man on the gourd is just something else, man. It doesn't operate like the usual gourd you see. It's aggressive, but somehow it's always out of reach.
So what's the plan here? What's the plan, right? Because at this point, every time they go in for team fights, it doesn't appear that anyone can actually dive into the back line and cut the range that Onyx has short because of that gourd. Whose job is it to go to the back line, and how do they do it?
I think Luke definitely is the main contender, but actually a boy can do so as well. Technically, the whole comp from GeekFam do really well when they're not exactly in a complete front to back. The short range of the carry means that CW technically has more AoE, but if they can really find ways to get in the back line and utilize the crowd control efficiently, that could be the way they can do it, but they have to try and farm up and equalize the gold difference first, because at 6k, that is starting to be too much for execution and micro plays to be able to equalize.
They're really just forced to turtle in their own base. There's not much they can even do in their own jungle here. Niall has to walk up and open it up for the team. And by doing that, he's already risking his life. He's a level below of Kyrie. Sure, more neutral objectives so far, but Onyx have more structures. They can play the map, they can poke. GeekFam and Beloyski going for that signature game-changing play. Not too sure if that will work out for them here, as they have gone to the complete opposite side of where Onyx are residing in.
They don't see him. Sans knows what they're doing. Look at the way that Onyx have actually responded to that, despite them in the unknown.
Oh, what an insight from Sans there, but now Kyrie tries to capitalize on it.
That's a big taunt onto Beloyski. CW with some follow-up there, and a Mystic Gush just melts him away. Luke is forced to pop the sprint defensively, and it's all Onyx in the 13th minute of the game. CW blazing to the front, dodging everything, and now onto Marquet. CW in a 1v3 forces the heavy spin, and a boy gets executed by Gila Sans.
Obliterated. This is just a different level coming from Onyx here in game number 1 of this best of 7 series. And even though we see on the kill board 411, look at all the kills that were taken by GeekFam. It's only onto Boots, it's only onto Keyboy. Sans and CW, the two anchors of damage coming in from the Yellow Porcupines, still remain untouched at this point of the game.
And that's with Sans just flickering aggressively yet again in the previous fight. Just the move on and the predictions here, but Beloyski with the concealed Wolf of Boots.
Good pickoff onto Boots. The fadeaway should kill him, and yes, it does. That's a kill over to Marquis. Something they desperately need was a glimpse of hope, and
Turret has been destroyed.
that's a glimpse of brilliance that they just got.
Now here it is, Wind of Nature finally secured in by Marky. Is this something that they need at this point?
Well, there's a lot of magical damage on the side of Onyx as well, though. As well as true damage coming in from Gord. So Marky will be a bit more safe, but you know he needs to still be careful as Beloy gets taken out.
Heck, a defensive item for Marky. What about Beloyski? Oh my god, it's Niall finding the back, but it's a holy baptism to cancel it out. CW! Once again with a blazing duet, just takes them out in the back. And the executor will never be CW. It will be Keyboy and Sons. And now,
Luke?
even one more. Keyboy flickering forward, basic attacking. Luke able to escape, but Keyboy is the executioner. Sans again with a Mystic Gush and a stun onto Niall. Kyrie dashing forward, the base wide open. In the 14th minute of the game, that's a two-man stun. That's an Appraiser's Wrath, and it's CW who is unstoppable. The mid-waves crashing in. Beloyski looking for a miracle play. CW onto the base, the baptism connecting. No minions right now. They have cleared it, but Beloy falls once again. It's Marky caught in the laser beam. And it's Onyx dismantling, deteriorating, obliterating Geek Fam in game 1.
The Sky Kings, they're gonna lead the series, this best of 7 series 1-0. And we're gonna call our analysts, our shadows. Ring, ring, ring. For the friend, Wolf LaFell. What was that?
I'm saying this because they look like they really planned against Geek Fam in their second meeting. They got the Rafaela, they snatched it away, and all of the other support heroes are banned out, and then they pick up Gord. It was so clean when they executed.
For me, I definitely have a lot of notes in this first game here where I would say Geek Fam made a lot of mistakes, positional mistakes, but most of them are because of Onyx.
Yep.
The way that Kyrie and Sons, Kyrie was controlling the front line, and Sons, he was getting attention from other people from the side of Geek Fam, and because of that, Geek Fam seemed very uncoordinated. The first turtle, they made a mistake. The third turtle, they made a mistake. The first Lord, Geek Fam made a mistake. They made the mistake, but again, props to Onyx, they forced that mistake.
It's just a different level.
Yeah. There's one thing that I wanted to say, that this is a focus on the Akai, right? So there are 4 starters, and we saw that the usages of the heavy spin in the first 3 tries they did all useless, right?
Yep.
They weren't able to make anything out of it. And additionally, I think Onyx pulled off a BTR against Nael Sakai when they did it, because what we saw is that the weakness of Akai is that Akai cannot flash farm, and once you can take out some of the farm coming out from the Akai, he cannot get to a certain level that he is going to be at par with the Fredrin. So it's actually the Fredrin from Kyrie as well as Boots who took away so much of the farm of the Akai. So every time that they see the Akai somewhere else, they just take over the jungle. And what it does is that it takes away levels from the Akai. That means that
Yuzong can make sure that the Gord does not feel comfortable, and the Iritel cannot move forward, has to move backwards.
But I think, is this not the trap that is being set by Onyx? Force a Yuzong being picked up here, because these are the choices that they went for in the ban in the drafting phase, Lapu Lapu and Khalid, and then they try to counter the Yuzong in lane.
Well, if they want to go counter the Yuzong, there are still options available, but I think that idea of the dive along with the quad, that's an idea that Onyx is very aware of, and the Paquito is still a very solid option, but it doesn't have the same AoE presence like the Raging Sandstorm, the Bravest Fighter from the Lapu Lapu and the Khalid. So Onyx can still use the maneuverability and just make sure that the spacing is paid attention to. That will mean that Geek will struggle to really find combos.
Yeah, Teresa sounds good for Onyx, or even Uranus actually, so that they can really punish this Akai, like win all those neutral objectives. They have strong front to back if that is the case. So they have a choice between Teresa and Uranus this time.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking French and XP. The Lancelot was banned last game. They can go for the Lancelot pick here and have more hope.
Ruby, Paquito, Akai, do you want to play Lancelot in that case? Well, if you're Kyrie,
exactly. I was about to say, like, usually, no. In any circumstance, you do not want that. And then they'll go, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right, Wolf. It's a bit too risky for the Lance, even for Kyrie. We'll go for the Terizla.
And again, looking at Onyx draft, their control in the river is going to be very, very strong, right? The team fight capabilities is going to be amazing. In this game, if Geek Fam really wants to make a difference, I got to say, the Paquito has to be the one attacking the backlines and making sure that every single kind of damage coming out from Onyx is going to be disrupted. I really don't care even if the Paquito dies, as long as the backline doesn't have an easy time, it's going to be looking good for Geek Fam.
Final expectations, Wolf.
Yeah, I think Onyx has a more easy track to execute, I would say. So they will take this, I think.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Wolf. Thank you, LaFell. We'll see you after this game. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to focus on this second game. Will Geek Fam be able to come back from this 1-0, force yet another series, another eye-to-eye with Onyx? That's going to be the question as we'll welcome you to the land of Dawn, ladies and gentlemen, for game number 2, Onyx and Geek Fam.
Have to see if Onyx can really find the same kind of success. Can Geek Fam make the adjustment to really throw a wrench in this tempo playstyle of Onyx? All begins in the lane, so we have to take a look at the battle spells as well. 2 sprints on Geek, but we're trying to outmaneuver and match up to the bit of that Raphael movement speed boost.
And now it comes down to the same problems for both these two teams, and we'll see if Onyx, they can win the neutral objective battle again, or will Geek Fam actually win it out with those small micro adjustments in that Claude in the gold lane. Rashi emblems by Dunya Games.
We have an Inspire by Sans, because he uses a Mystic Projectile not only to engage, but also to scout out and deter Geek Fam from moving in. The fact that the bounce happens on that skill, it throws you off tempo, but at the same time, it takes longer to quote-unquote finish its animation. So it actually is a great zoning tool, especially in a big fight where you want the backline of Geek Fam to just be a bit more nervous, opening them up to possibilities.
All right, let's see. The main change here is with the Irritel and Keyboy on the... Oh, wait a minute. Boy, what is he doing?
Just some poke, just a bit of poke up top there, rotating around. But again, this is the problem for them all throughout, even game number 1. The sustain in that gold lane. It's never a weak side when you have a Rafaela.
Even on the side of Geek Fam, you see that they have a lot more emphasis in the mid lane right here. Like we said earlier, it is a bit of a countered matchup. The wave clear from Gord is just so oppressive. So Beloy is moving there a bit more. But I think the real big fights are going to start from the jungle, the jungle control here. Which jungle can really start being more aggressive first and maybe gank and impact the lanes. And in the early stage of the game, before level 4, it is Kyrie on the Fedrin. But now that it's level 4, maybe he can go for the heavy spin play before before the turtle is actually contested.
That's going to be the main factor here because both of these junglers are at level 4. So we'll see the setup difference coming in from both of these teams. There you go.
Some good damage. The assassination from Nile, but the Brazer's Wrath connects as well. As a 1-for-1, Luke diving deep into enemy territory. Kyrie now with the help of the penalty zone from Boots. And 1v1, it's still him who wins it out, even despite a heavy spin. And now Beloy is caught, forced to flicker out. Luke gets a proper knockout strike to disengage the rest of his team from that skirmish.
That's a 1-for-1 trade in favor of Onyx because they pick up the turtle. In addition to that, that's an outcome that we expected here. Nile on the Kai.
I want to play from Kyrie though. He reads that the heavy spin is coming. He dashes out of the pit to avoid getting pinned down, securing the turtle quite easily. Man, that kind of foresight is what makes Onyx so difficult to deal with. It seems like they are always one step ahead. Now, like game 1, the tempo is shifting in their favor, and Beloyski has been unable to really find a big value pickoff.
Not yet. It's tough, right? Because in the gold lane, it feels like Onyx has a little bit more to say. Beloyski misses that chance to go in. And then it feels like in the EXP lane, it looks like Onyx, Boots is having a fun time as well, and in the jungle it looks like Kyrie's winning it all out.
Nile though already invading here with the help of Luke. As the red tree finds it, but penalty zone locks him down. A good heavy spin to disengage as Luke is able to dash away. Boots now there to capitalize on a good taunt knock-up from Kyrie as Onyx takes the lead again in the stat line. Another good stun to stop a boy from clearing this wave and to get Kyrie some good space.
What do you do? What do you do if you were Geek at this point, not having a proper setup on all 3 lanes, jungle losing as well? Arashi.
But at this point, it's also a bit of an outplay situation here, because earlier Beloyski was trying to find that pickup on Kyrie, but he dodges it yet again. Seems like he just knows. And now with Paquito falling behind like this, I'm quite concerned as well because no one's going to be diving in the back line unless Marky.
Oh, he saved the heavy crossbow all the way to the end. It might be an outplay. One more hit. A fadeaway. Keyboy again. The executor. The assassin, but on a healer.
The X Factor key boy. MVP all throughout, and he's able to again perform on a hero that we don't necessarily find himself on. And they're back again with a beautiful setup on the next neutral objective.
This time Niall has a good spot, but penalty zone gets popped in, and again the combo prevents Geek from even stepping in the vicinity. Kyrie with a taunt, Beloyski with his health bar just drained out.
This is looking like a very dangerous situation, man. Geek fam, with how flustered they are, how forced they are to actually move into these objectives without the man advantage, without the wave advantage. They're coming in rushed and together, and you saw earlier, Sans just lands yet another huge combo. And if they really want to come out on top in these fights, they cannot do that. Of course, Luke, the main flanker for Geek fam, is already 1 kill down. He needs to try and make a play maybe, and that's what he's doing in the bot side.
Geek fam have to pull an Arashi. Oh, you heard his voice. It's a bit scrappy. Geek fam needs to look for a proper scrap here against Onyx. They need to make it weird like this. I'm offended, but no, of course it's not. CW, unkillable, just jumps out like it's nothing.
It's a similar story to what we saw in game number 1. That's the exact thing that they want to look for, yet Onyx always deny that opportunity from happening. Whether it be from Keyboy's healing, whether it be from the FOTO item or photo, as you call it. Every time Geek fam wants to look for opportunities to make things uneven in these team fights, make it scrappy, look for pickoffs, Onyx always have a way to deny it away.
Gotta give credit to Keyboy as well though, because his mana management is so good.
The MM?
Look at his item. He does not have the Enchanted Talisman. He only has the Flash of the Oasis, and that's the only thing he has, but now he's getting jumped on.
Baptism connecting and final. No way! Again! Kyrie with a taunt now. Keyboy with a bait. It's a big heavy spin from Niall, but it's a Mystic Gush even bigger. Kyrie now into the front. It's a flicker forward from Keyboy. Niall gets slowed and now taken out as a 3-man Baptism. A boy versus 2. That's the passive from Keyboy, getting a bit more damage. A boy needs to look for an outplay here. That's a splasher again, but CW will be able to just pick up a double. When you look for a scrappy team fight, Onyx says we can win it anyways. Luke, 2 dashes, what he needs, he jumps, he gets one, but he misses another. Now it's an outplay. Luke has been normalized. Yesterday's play was nothing but a fluke in the face of Onyx.
They just made him look like an amateur, like a ranked game player. They dodge everything, they bait him out. CW knows that he has a heavy crossbow available, dodges out of it, and Luke was just caught out there, high and dry, nothing to do. And once again, the denial. Niall can't do anything.
Absolutely
Denial.
nothing. Denialed?
Denial, get
I
it?
love it. 10 out of 10,
man.
Arashi.
10 out of 10,
We
Arashi.
appreciate you.
10 out of 10 red trees as well from Kyrie so far. That one right there went to Niall. That was Niall still having that red tree, but what the heck is going on? It almost seems like Onyx have regained their Season 11 form. They are untouchable.
Does Geek fam want to go for a different approach maybe this time around? Sure, they've been looking for pickoffs, but for the amount of times that they failed, they went on the same person. They went onto Keyboy. And over, time and time again, he has been able to outplay the situation. Is there a way for them to go for a different approach?
I think the only real play that stands out is maybe some macro-heavy splitting done by Luke. Because if he doesn't go in, they can't really make him commit. But look at his play!
The turrets mean nothing, not to Onyx. Niall with a 2-man heavy spin, but what is a heavy spin to no follow-up? I'm offended, bringing Boots back, under the turret right now, as the Appraiser's Wrath doesn't connect. The boy misses the Baptism and now gets gunned down, but Marquet with a blazing duet, it's healed again! The Mystic Gush, everything you throw at Onyx, Onyx throws at you again, 2 times, fold.
6,000 gold lead in the 8th minute already in that particular skirmish. That was a 2-0 trade. And Onyx, they're taking down the structures, and the structures are falling like flies. Onyx have completely taken this entire game of Mobile Legends, rewritten the code, and there doesn't look like anyone is here to stop them.
I don't think team fighting skirmishes can be won by Geek fam at this point. The goal disparity is just way too big. And if you notice, it's not like Geek fam has not been able to find any real good engagements. Beloy and Niall has landed massive ultimates, the I'm Offended, as well as the heavy spins. But while that was happening, look at how Onyx is posturing. Boots and Sans just stand there menacingly and say, you want to jump in on this? You can do that. It's going to be a big Mystic Gush combo or a huge penalty zone, and we're going to wipe you out. That deterrent is just so difficult for Geek fam to deal with right now. I think macro play is the only thing they have, but they're just outmaneuvered.
Now's the setup. We're gonna see the Lord dance here coming in from both of his teams with Kyrie at level 12, Nile at level 11. Either or, Onyx has way bigger of an advantage in this particular skirmish. Nile, I don't think he's able to force this out, but I like what GeekFam is doing. They understand this, and they're looking for a trade, a macro play, something that they can put in their pocket, which is that push in the top side.
Something is definitely better than nothing. But with the Lord coming up here, Onyx can still equalize in the lost turret department, and they can even go for a bit more with a penalty zone, with tools to just crowd control, with Boots maybe walking into a trap.
I'm offended, connecting onto Boots. If he survives this, that will not happen. But if he survives, that would be cool, right? I mean, Onyx have survived every single skirmish. But unfortunately, in the mid lane, Kyrie will just pick up a free tier 2. In the mid lane, they're pushing in the bottom, so even though they got a kill, the setup is still for Onyx.
It looks bad. It looks bleak for GeekFam right now, but does this not look like they're setting up for a backdoor or a split push strategy for Marky to go in?
That's the only thing they can do. But for Onyx, they have multiple frontliners, so they can send someone to try and stop the push, or they can just go for a fight and make it a bit of a base race. With the Lord coming in, I don't think Luke can really match up to the pushing speed, but they will send Boots back, so the penalty zone deterrent is now no longer in the picture. This could be an opportunity for GeekFam, unless...
Beloy's Conceal just got cancelled earlier. Holy Baptism baiting out the heavy spin. Beloyski, oh, that's an I'm offended only onto the cannon minion, and it actually procs the sentry, the turret there. And now it's the turret in the mid lane, tier 2, just taken out without minions.
That's the first Lord as well, and Luke tries to replicate the same kind of success, but it's gonna cost him.
He survives for a bit, but not for long. The heavy crossbow does that much damage through the shielding. It pierces through.
Desperation, just the stench of desperation all over GeekFam. And it's only been 11 minutes, yet they're resorting to this sort of strategy and this sort of gameplay. Sacrificing Luke, looking for structures, trying to set up for what appears to be a Hail Mary play. But Onyx, despite all that thrown at them, it doesn't matter. They don't care. They're confident enough to actually go this in a conventional way.
They're still respecting GeekFam and their defensive abilities though. Usually we see that Onyx, especially with an 8k gold lead, they can make plays to just dive in and just destroy teams in their own bases. But they know that GeekFam, they've been here before. This is where they're just scheming, waiting for a chance in the shadows to try and make something happen.
And now it's, what, just Onyx controlling everything. What do Geek even do? They look for a split push up top. Luke is getting some good farm, but for Marky, he is the weapon they need to get online right now. But unfortunately, he is 3 levels down against CW. I'm only curious as to see how much gold CW is ahead by.
Me too. I want to know how far behind he is. I want to know I want to see the items.
I guess we have to see and wait for the gold chart by UBS Gold. If it does show up, now with the Lord spawning, see the movements from Onyx here, putting 3 on top this time, attempting to just try and cut the wave, maybe deny the push before it even begins. They're rotating now. I think Luke is gonna go for broke.
Let's see if he can do it. He's on the base turret already, and Onyx have no response to it. Keyboy is finally now recalling, but Onyx here, they're actually not recalling. They've canceled it out. That's an I'm offended on the Keyboy right now, but he still has the flicker. Goes in for the baptism, saves the flicker. Luke is still on the top side right now, looking to play, but Beloyski gets melted down before anything can happen, and there are no more minions up top. Onyx have gone for a risky play. They have left the top side, and now, only now, do they send Sans back to clear it. Luke in the mid lane trying to be a nuisance, and Onyx are still holding on to the Lord. Nile's only a level behind, and Kyrie's already holding on to it. Nile jumps in with a good knockup. Sans has cleared up top lane. Kyrie jumps to the taunt and a penalty zone from Boots. It's CW going godlike as Marky jumps into the lazy duet. Now Luke onto CW. Should be able to take him down. A good shutdown, but Nile now running away. A flicker forward from Sans as Nile should fall. Sans picks up a killing spree. What looked good has ended up disastrous for GeekFam.
Fortunately for GeekFam, they're able to find CW though, so the pushing power is going to be a bit more limited. But with this next Lord right here, Onyx, this is the moment where if they want to play this early game style, they want to go for the end. The base start has been taken for GeekFam. That's a great advantage, a great blessing, and a silver lining for them. But now Onyx will definitely go for a decisive play. And if you take a look at the items,
Finally.
it's full aggression coming in from CW. And he's ahead by 3,500 gold. With the GDS, he has maneuverability, and with the Lord already in their hands, there's no chance for Geekman to force him into close quarters battle.
A small loophole that I see is CW. Oh no!
What you see is Beloyski getting melted down, Eterna. Onyx aren't even using the sideways. They don't care. They'll go straight at that base turret in the mid lane, take it down, and then recall. And then now Luke has to be careful. He's still going for it. He might actually lose his life now. That's CW with a heavy crossbow chasing Luke down. That's some damage. Pop down. The knockout strike comes out. The Geek Fam sticker emote comes out. But he will not come out alive from this trade.
He doesn't. He doesn't. He's able to find a little bit of time, maybe, for Geek Fam. But other than that, he was even unable to get that turret in the bottom side of the map, get that inhibitor turret for his team. And now Onyx with a man up. They're looking for a little bit more pressure into Geek Fam. The one thing that I really wanted to point out was CW has yet to buy a 1.
Yep.
So that's something that Geek Fam can exploit, but it's a shot in the dark, but it's the only shot they got.
It's also holy healing to help that, right? You don't need to win in nature when your HP doesn't even go low. Marky's physical damage right now, it's still not at that level.
Why? Because he already has DHS, he has Golden Staff as well.
Rafaela.
I think he has a corrosion.
I think it's only one item away from having a full inventory slot. But yes, there's a lot more utility built into it. And again, it's just not the same kind of crit, the same kind of burst. With Luke gone earlier, Onyx has been able to get the bottom side base turret as well. And now, with them locked in the base like this, Luke can't find a window to actually go out.
That's an I'm offended onto Keyboy, but he still gets out. He gets a baptism as well. On the last possible pixel of that baptism, he finds Beloyski. A proactive move by Beloy, and you will not believe the outcome of it.
Man, the aggressive play from Onyx continues, and Sans has a Winter Truncheon. Fully expected to do something absolutely crazy, and now they go in.
Nothing crazy, everything just by the books. They go in for the first person they see. It's a penalty zone. That will be utilized to melt a boy down. 2 members down. Nile jumps in with a heavy spin. That's Marky with a blazing duet to the back line, but it doesn't melt anyone down. The holy healing provides enough sustain. Sans doesn't even go for the kill. He just recalls in the face of danger, in the face of the Marquee. The solution in this game has to run past his base, across, and make a big lap before Beloy now respawns in. That's a baptism not connecting. Luke, knockout strike. But one more shot should deal with him here. They're chasing for him. Luke is buying a lot of time. Onyx with a 9,000 gold lead. Now a holy healing. Luke, can he make a miracle play to defend? Sans, that's a stun, not connecting, but the burn does connect. That's a slow. Luke, still magical, as always. But magic will only get you so far against Onyx.
He bought a lot of time, but even despite all that, it's still Onyx with a better setup on the next neutral objective. And ladies and gentlemen, 18 minutes of this game, a 10k gold lead for Onyx. And this is going to be yet another free lord for Onyx. What is Geek Fam planning here? A boy posturing in that area? What is he looking for?
I don't think they're planning too far ahead, man. They're grasping at straws here. Anything that can keep them in the game. That play from Luke bought them some time, but with the Lord coming back in, if Onyx makes this a 3-wave push, I'm not sure if Geek Fam can withstand the Lord, clear it in time, while taking the damage coming in from Onyx. Because especially for Sans, if he puts the zone down, the Mystic Field down, there's damage coming out constantly without him required to be in the vicinity for any kind of strike back.
They're trying though. Arashi Miracle, they're trying.
His flank.
Beloyski a boy, they're going for a flank.
This is a big gameplay. Beloyski with the I'm offended. CW able to dash away right now with a Purify as well. He gets out. He buys the immortality while in the midst. That's a Mystic Gush with him on an off angle from a boy. They bought enough time for the lore right now. They're crashing in, but Boots just penalty zones in. That's a Mystic Gush getting rid of Beloyski's HP bar. Even in the front, it's going to be Luke, the frontliner. The guy who can distract. Melted down. A killing spree for Tewen. Now it's a blazing duet only connecting onto Kyrie, who's going to be there, who just takes it in with a taunt, with a baptism. Marky will be taken out, and Onyx will secure another dominant game.
2-0, ladies and gentlemen. The Sky Kings, they are angry. They are looking fierce. They are looking solid. They are looking unstoppable.
Jeez.
But remember, this was a rematch. This is a rematch of the upper bracket finals. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Onyx leading it, right? At match points?
Yep, 2-0.
So this is, we're close to that point, but Geek Fam were still able to come back.
Yeah, it was a reverse sweep
So anything can
scenario.
happen.
So this is not over just yet. But man, that second game definitely was a slight bit closer. So you do get the feeling that Geek Fam, they are learning, they are adapting, and this is what they do best. The longer the game goes, the more solutions they can potentially find.
The solution, the marquee in this game, unfortunately was not able to find it. Onyx just threw a big stomp to shut down the first 2 games, and maybe even the morale, the mental. That's the big question here coming into game number 3. How do Geek Fam answer?
I don't, for no particular reason at all, I want to ask Wolf.
Okay, no particular reason.
No particular reason.
Maybe because of the guest analyst here,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's valid. That's
Well,
valid.
I think that the Akai might be a direction that they should not be going to, because back-to-back games we saw that they were shut down. Even in their series against BTR, it was also shut down. Maybe this is the time that they give up on that strategy. Valentina, valid strategy, I would say. It's always a 50-50 between the pickup of the Raphael and the Valentina, but I don't want to give the Valentina to Onyx because they are so good at it. Sense is so good at that hero. I think it's just the Akai that they need to kind of change in the early stages of the draft.
Honestly, for me, I gotta say, Rafaela cannot go through anymore. Because throughout the game, I would say in this game, it really is about how all the lanes are controlled. Because looking at how they're playing, Onyx, they're almost having the mindset, we don't have to win the lane. We just don't have to lose. Every single time we see a proactive movement coming in from the mid lane.
The game. Luke is getting ordered around by Boots.
I want to know if there's a difference in his impact on the Terizla now. We finally get to see him on a different hero.
Yep. Which means that the answer should be Edith or Export coming out from Onyx, and then they'll finish up this time with a hero that can counter, that can supplement a lot of damage between it. Like Ixia, for example. I'm thinking like this might be the hero, especially... Okay, well, there it is.
The Wolf special. It should be the X-Borg too, by the way. Like the X-Borg. Oh, whoa.
Okay.
Finally, you get something wrong. I was really convinced by the X-Borg pick, but
Yeah.
they go for something quite different here. The Paquito. This is a signature pick back in Season 8, Season
Yeah.
9, Season 10. For Boots, he was even called the Heavenly Fist because of how good his Paquito is.
Yep. Okay, Bruno, standard pickup. Because what you do is to have the Rafaela combo with it. This is gonna be close. I think that both teams at this time it's not really one-sided on the side of Onyx. I still think that Onyx will take it just because of the fact that they went in for the Paquito instead of the Export. Because if they followed what I think, maybe they'll lose because I'm not smart enough. But they did change it up with the Paquito. I think it's better.
Honestly, I would say the Paquito is to add a different dimension towards their fight, because look at their composition. Besides the Matilda, there's no one diving to the backside, and they have the last pick coming up. So I feel like the Paquito is two-dimensional. Sure, you can join the fight, but you can flank as well. So it makes it so that the drafting phase, they're not going to get punished.
The final statements coming in from Wolf as well as LaFell, ladies and gentlemen, as we are heading to what appears could possibly be match point. In this best of 7, 3 points is all you need, and if Geek Fam can't win this one, then it's GG. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, will Geek Fam be able to turn it around with the Sky Kings already leading with a 2-0 as we enter the Land of Dawn? Let's go.
It's time here to see whether Geek Fam can be tested mentally. They did it before against RRQ, reverse sweep. Can they do it again?
I'm curious to see how will Onyx use this Akai. We've seen that sometimes it's always the same way for the neutral objective contest, but at times it's also for the pickoffs before then, especially with so many targets available to them here and a very easy in and out due to the guiding wind. Onyx can use it in a more aggressive fashion.
Let's see if they do, as we take a look at their emblem choices here by Dunya Games. Anything in particular that stands out?
Well, both supports are going to go for the Wilderness Blessing and the Agility. They want to be all across the map. I think the shielding to everyone at the same time from the Matilda is going to really be a bit value, especially in the earlier stages of the game when the items really isn't as developed for both supports.
With the Lilia being their choice here for the side of Onyx for Suns, with heavy wave clear, it will facilitate them to go in for these early ganks to the side lanes and even to set up for these neutral objectives. As you can see here already, it being cleared, and now Kyrie has a lot more space to go in.
And you can see the pressure once again that we kind of spoke about in the drafts. Geek are now putting more pressure onto Luke, getting him ahead and getting him off of the clutches of Boots.
But turns out Nile is the one picking up the gold buff though. Bit of a win for the rookie. But I think the big difference you're going to see initially is going to be in that first turtle. Already both junglers coming at it. Will Onyx try and go for something else, or going to try and shut down Nile against the turtle pit and then try and get something a bit more guaranteed? Because in the early game, that Lilia damage is something that Geek Fam has to take into consideration as well.
Luke is in position. It's going to be Nile jumping in with penalty zone. It's Boots helping out in the back line, and it's going to be Kyrie who wins it with a heavy spin. This is what we expect on the Akai. Nile pinned down, and first blood over to Onyx. Luke getting the holy healing to disengage, but Keyboy wants more. Diving deep, the Stampede brings him back for a bit, but it's just Onyx who takes a big W and walks out. Oh, Sans almost getting another cheeky little kill.
It's such a statement from Onyx here. They completely turned the jungle around. Now Kyrie is on the Akai, and I think coming into this matchup as a whole, Onyx and Geek Fam, a lot of highlights between who is the better jungler. Sure, Kyrie is still #1, but a lot of people have said that Nile is a close second. He's a budding, a junior Kyrie in a way. And this statement coming from Kyrie is huge, just really pushing Nile down and testing his confidence, his level of confidence that we've seen him portray throughout the playoffs.
Well, the performance of Nile is how far Geek has come in this playoffs is in no small part due to the success of Nile and the crazy moments he's been able to find even against the more well-known junglers, the more experienced junglers as well. So here, if he can really get going, if he can get some kills and such a snowball, I think he can definitely still bring the fight to Onyx.
Holy Baptism connecting onto one member only. Beloy forced to run away all the way under the tier 1 and then towards the purple buff. That's the off-angle attack of Boots, and Nile has already used the Retribution to try to finally fend Boots away. Get away, but in the bottom lane the same thing happens, but onto the gold laner now with a pin down. That's a good Netherrealm from a boy, but he did commit a flicker for it. That's a big resource, a big ultimate. Same goes for that heavy spin though.
And in the previous game, we saw that the macro play, the split push was what Geek Fam was using. Now it's no longer available. They're going to be very reliant on going for these team fights, but with the gold lane pressured so much by the roaming, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do so in the mid game when the items start rolling in.
What did you guys say earlier on with Rafaela? In the gold lane, whoever is with Rafaela usually wins lane.
Yeah, but they have a Matilda, right?
Exactly.
That's where the neutralization is. And now they go in, there's a penalty zone, aggressive one onto Luke. They know he has no heavy spin. Boots is helping him out, but a boy now with the Ghost Bursters picks up the kill. It's the Panda dying, but Onyx get delayed the turtle take. Now it's Keyboy with a good circling eagle to try to delay it even further. It seems like Onyx might have to give it away this time round. Nile has that Retribution, but a boy is bringing Boots back. They're still trying to delay it. Keyboy is rotating again. Nile should get it for free unless Keyboy, nope, cannot make a play there. Onyx will instead look for pressure elsewhere.
And the punish occurs here in the 5th minute of the game, with Kyrie taken out right before the turtle take even have begun. It was Geek Fam being able to win it out, but Onyx very quick to look for another thing on the board. They look for compensation and take away that turret in the bottom side.
And the intelligence that circling eagle gives you is just, again, so underrated. We've mentioned it multiple times, but with Keyboy popping it, you just see so much more intelligence, and that means that Onyx can move in a more educated fashion. On top of that, by the way, it was interesting in the earlier fight because Sans wasn't even passing towards the turtle at all, and now he's getting caught out.
Sans forced to use that sprint. He already used the black shoes. Oh, he dodges away from the taunt, and now it's a circling eagle. Knocking Nile up. Boots, knockout strike to try to lock him down. That's enough damage. Says Onyx, we'll go back and look for scraps. Nile on the other side. Oh, Kyrie with a dash forward, very aggressive, trying to zone them away. It looks like they want to mount up a siege in the mid lane. Those are some big glooms coming at it, forcing out another realm as Kyrie gets stunned up, but he's still able to walk away. Luke, penalty zone, but it's only on to Chewe. who should be able to get out with a guiding win very easily.
Wow, all right. That was nearly such a different, entirely weighted outcome. But did you see what Boots was able to do? He was able to distract 2 members from the side of GeekFam from even entering that team fight. And so Onyx, they were confident enough to be able to go for it. And this is Boots in the early game that you can't really consider has that much impact, really depending on the items that he's about to go for. But in that late stage, I expect this to be very brutal for GeekFam.
And it is. Look at how much damage they're putting onto Luke with no full barrage, just a circling eagle to knock him up, and CW using those basic attacks.
And that point on Boots just having so much impact, so much crowd control, it's a very good one. Because I was talking about the difference between the Fredrin and the Kai, and the Fredrin has a lot more crowd control. He can spam out. Well, in this game, you can see that Boots isn't targeting the backline. He's just crowd controlling the frontliners, trying to be a big nuisance for his team. It's a completely different approach, and I think GeekFam are just either not recognizing it or just not used to this playstyle.
We saw a team fight domination in game 1. We saw a pickoff sorta domination in game 2, and now we're just seeing an objective domination from Onyx. They're trying to win on all fronts against GeekFam. Even Kyrie there, look at him, standing menacingly. He was just there. And that presence alone is going to force Luke to say, all right, you know what? Sure, I'll back away.
Exactly, that's the entire theme. The zoning potential coming in from Onyx, and GeekFam understand it. Because when they go forward, this is what they get.
When they go forward, a Panda forces them backwards. Niall brought back entirely to the team, and no amount of healing, no amount of resources will be able to get you out of a team like this, who is 2,000 gold ahead. That's a knock-up onto Luke. Meanwhile, Boots in a 2v1, no problem. Just goes at it. Still has a shielding keyboard with the guiding win as well, and a circling eagle. And even a full barrage. Max range forces it into the realm. Gets brought back by that circling eagle, that guiding win. Luke now caught in the midst, jumped in for the penalty zone right now, and it's actually a turnaround, a good one by Luke. Flickers out to safety, and GeekFam have finally gotten a good win in their hands. Kyrie able to jump back a boy with a stampede, brings Sans back all the way to the back. Sans dodging away, but it is all for naught. GeekFam gets the first win in the series.
This is the moment that we've been waiting for. This is what the community all around the world has been waiting for. A 3-4-0 trade in favor of GeekFam as they retake the game. They get a little bit more space. They take away the purple buff away from Kyrie. Niall able to take it. Is Keyboy going a little too heavy? Still able to get out. Doesn't commit onto that. But 8 minutes in, 9 minutes in, this is what we want to see.
That's the GeekFam require, but also Onyx just being uncharacteristically greedy for that kill there, just going in and bringing CW all the way to the front line against a team with so much damage, but with shorter range. It's a bit of a similar matchup we've seen GeekFam and Onyx in before, but if the Onyx wants to get success, they have to be a bit more careful. There's a lot of ways that GeekFam can punish, and we're seeing it in the previous fight.
Penalty zone locked on to the baptism as well, comboed in together, but the guiding win gets him out. Now Onyx mounting up a re-engage. GeekFam have an advantage in numbers up top. Turns out Onyx are just trying to bait, trying to feint, to give the bottom side a bit more of an advantage. It's Kyrie and CW on the Lord. Niall with a Brazer's Wrath, Kyrie with a heavy spin. No, he doesn't even use it. Now he decides to do it, and it's a pin Niall down. The Netherrealm grants him a bit more HP. CW dealing quite a good amount of damage. Boots clearing out this mid-wave, and Onyx just went out in the trade. GeekFam, though, will not leave it to that. Sans has the black shoes, pops it. Luke now going to be knocked up. Luke, in the midst of it all, still using the hammers to get that sustain. The holy healing with the flask of the Oasis gets him out. Keyboy, that's a circling eagle. Caw-caw, as Leo would say.
Shout out, Leo.
Shout out, Leo.
We miss you. But back to that point. Was that too early of an Appraisal's Wrath, Arashi?
I think he was just desperate to go for it, because the fact is he's alone against 2 members, and CW on a marksman has essentially unlimited damage output. That's the benefit of a marksman, right? Can keep hitting, keep doing damage, and now just wants to really seal the deal, take the Lord, and Kyrie just very calmly doesn't even use the heavy spin and just goes for it. Now in the bot side though, more aggression from Onyx.
Luke's all alone, penalty zone onto Sans. He still has the black shoes, gets out as quickly as Luke was able to engage. Now he flickers out. Kyrie's looking for the play, heavy spin, pinning Beloyski down, but he gets knocked back just a bit. That displacement saved Beloy. They're looking for this bottom side, but GeekFam has managed it enough.
All right, let's reel it in a little bit. At this point of the game, 11 minutes in, We might not be able to as Keyboy goes in again.
Ooh, 2 knockups onto Niall. Appraiser's Wrath not connecting. Now it's Boots with another knockup. Make it 4. Niall in the midst of it all, the full barrage. Brrr, from CW. Takes 2 down. And a boy is left alone to flicker back to the base.
That's a dangerous situation to be in. Using all your engage, but having nothing to cancel CW on the full barrage. Onyx was able to just force that fight due to the abundance of resources they have. And Sans is just so risky with this Lilia, abusing the black shoes. His signature playstyle we haven't seen in a long time, but it shows that the rust really isn't evident in his playstyle.
Definitely not. I'm surprised. Wait, are we surprised at this point? It's hard to tell.
It's just Sans things.
It sounds things. You're right. 4,000 gold lead now for Onyx. Keyboy.
It's Keyboy things as well.
See, and it doesn't even get taken down for those kind of plays. He's just flexing at this point.
So unfair. But now,
Monster.
if you look at the situation though, Geek Fam, Marky has been farming and hasn't been taken down. So technically he can kind of be the difference maker, but it depends on how the fight begins, right? There's a lot of ways for Onyx to zone him out. So Donna's shoes on the other foot. If he wants to try and stay in the Netherrealm, then Geek Fam needs to play around him. And I think it's a bit difficult because Onyx are the ones that can dictate the movements, dictate the crowd control. And Kyrie, compared to Niall, I must say, is so much better at setting up the heavy spin. But whoa!
What was that? Black Shoes, no way he survives this. The photo? Sans gets out! It's Keyboy! With the guiding wind to save him. My goodness. Even with the blunder, it's not enough to take one of Onyx members down, but they do have an advantage now. An advantage they seek to utilize here. They're blitzing the Lord. Kyrie is the hope right now for Onyx to secure this game. It's going to be the Circling Eagle. Good penalty zone as well. Niall finds the combo, but Kyrie finds a 2-man. It's a full barrage from CW! Into the guiding wind of Keyboy! Geek Fam find the Lord, but they lose out on a massive team fight.
They lose Boloyski, they lose Niall, he's going for more!
Under the base turret! The turrets are non-existent. Keyboy, guiding wind. He finally dies. That's what you deserve for doing all these blasphemic things.
But he has taken out Marky. No one's clearing the waves. A boy forced to flick around. One base turret down. Onyx. They're ignoring the Lord. They take all the base turrets down.
Without the Lord, without minions, they just get it. They poke it down. And who's it worth for? Do I even need to ask? That's 4. Make it 6 for the base turrets as well. And Kyrie gets the orange buff.
Take a look at the instant replay right there. A great penalty zone stuns Kyrie up. It's a great set from Geek Fam, but afterwards, 2-man pinned down and a full barrage. Completely uninterrupted.
Jeez.
And in our own games, Mirko, we question if this is possible. Full barrage into the guiding wind. Well, now we have a very definite answer. That is deadly.
Why isn't it possible?
Disgusting, right? Because the one thing that Ixia lacks is that range, that movement, but with the guiding wind being able to pull him in and out within that ultimate, that's like the perfect setup coming in from Onyx, the perfect solution to Ixia's immobility when she goes in for her ultimate.
Oh, weird flank from Boots right there. Could have been possible, but the Ixia, CW, is farming away, so it doesn't seem like this is a fight that they want to have. Now, though, says otherwise, but they won't have enough damage, not enough crowd control to hold down the Raging Panda.
The Dragon Warrior. What do they do? Well, right now, they're trying to poke Kyrie. That's what they're trying to do. Kyrie jumps in. Heavy spin, bringing Marky onto Boots. Now he's going to the back. Marky taking low. That's the photo. And the Netherrealm baited out. Meanwhile, Luke in the front. It's still going to be Boots surviving and getting out. The crowd roars as Boots gets out with the guiding wind. Now the Appraiser's back. Onto Kyrie. That's the Panda down, but CW is free hitting in the back. The guiding wind as well. Luke in the midst of it all, but it's CW and Sans who comes out on top. 1 down for Onyx earlier. Onyx make it 2 down for Geek Fam. Make it 3. Niall almost caught.
Is Keyboy? No way, right? No way did they go for this. He's just posturing, all right. He's doing Keyboy things, but in the grand scheme of things, that was a huge win coming in from Onyx. And how did it end up like that? Because technically Luke was doing everything right. His job is penalty zoning CW in the backline. He was able to do that. Why was there no damage? Where was the follow-up?
Okay, I think the question is the follow-up on who? The fight was so sporadic at every single direction. due to the guiding wind, and CW is the main carry here. And in that fight, he was relatively untouched. Geek Fam were kind of baited by the
Penalty
low
zone
HP
onto
board.
CW, Arashi. Yet he still survived.
Exactly, because alone, the Terizla can't really do all that, especially with Keyboy just escorting CW. So Geek Fam needs to find someone else to join the fray with him. Like earlier, when a boy was able to get his hands on CW, he does get taken out. We take a look at the items here though. Sans is doing a lot more burst heavy damage. I thought he was going to go for a glowing one considering the tankiness, but no, Baloyski.
Godlike.
What?
CW is godlike. CW gets brought back in front of two frontliners, and all Geek Fam think of doing is we need to recall. That's when you know you have a lead. That's when you know you've gone to their minds. The marksman was right in front of you, and they couldn't do a thing.
It's just a big, massive mind game, man, at this point. If they want to go on that without the intelligence, without the vision, they're worried that if they jump on CW, it's going to be a counter engage instead.
Exactly.
With the items built up here, a boy tries to make a play, but Sans, look at him! He's walking in the front lines.
And now it's Keyboy flying in the front lines, getting back to safety, and that's all three. Base turrets down. 17 minutes, 7,000 gold lead. Onyx are mounting up to a siege. Might be the final one to secure match point.
And this is not what we expected from Geek Fam at all. How? And it's insane because every single member of Onyx, they can play several different playstyles, and we see that come through here.
Circling Eagle onto 4, knocking 4 up right now. Is asking Nile in the front, given the Nether Realm. Luke jumps in with the penalty zone onto 3, but CW positions himself. He has a full barrage. Baloyski jumps in, but CW gets the healing, gets out. CW and Keyboy get him to safety. CW gets the shield, he gets the guiding win. A kited battle. It's only Sans who was taken now. Geek Fam are able to fend off, but Onyx are able to back off.
Oof, man, back and forth, but there you go. A boy barreling in together with Luke. That is what they needed to shut CW down in the middle of the fight. Unfortunately, they were unable to take him out due to the guiding wind, and that was their big opportunity. Now with that precedent, Onyx will be placing Keyboy a bit further away from CW for the next fight. It's a bit of a victory, but what can Geek Fam find with it? They're trying to get more fights, they're trying to get more catches, but Onyx just isn't giving them anything to work with.
At all! They're taking everything away, and to make it all worse, Boots is playing the macro game as well. He's setting it up, he's giving space for his team, he's buying time. With 61 seconds left for the Lord to spawn next, do you even think that Onyx require it? Do you think they're gonna go for it here?
I think they can if they want to. At this point, it's an open book. They have all the tools available to do whichever they want. A big team fight, a split push. There's so many options available to them, and that's just so confusing. Can't imagine being on the receiving end. Because even earlier, we expect Boots to maybe go a bit more aggressively, shut down a boy or Marky. But no, he just goes back and crowd controls Luke in order to just get that much more survivability for CW.
And now, Geek Fam are actually getting to that power spike. The power spike they've been waiting for. The power spike we've been waiting for. Marky is online. He's gotten his final item, that Wind Talker, to sell the boots for. Is this going to be enough to leave a dent on Onyx frontliners?
It's all going to rely on how Geek Fam are able to catch Onyx, right? If they can make Onyx commit to a fight, then Marky can output that damage. But otherwise, the kite back, I think, is just going to be too difficult to deal with. And keep in mind, there's that macro threat as well from Boots. So it's on Onyx to really fumble the ball here and give Geek Fam that perfect fight where a boy can output all the damage, can maybe get taken out and come back with the passive of the Faramis.
Execution, timing, determination is going to be very important here. And Onyx are looking to zone out Geek Fam at this point. They need to make things scrappy for Onyx. They need to deny this front-to-back composition they have. They need to be able to threaten CW in the back line.
That's a circling Eagle. On to Baloyski. Kyrie is in the midst right now. Luke has a penalty zone. Will Kyrie pop in heavy spin? He will. And Nile gets zoned away. It's going to be who? Who secures it? Kyrie! As Luke is isolated once again. Melted down. That's a penalty zone. Used defensively to the back. But it's a full barrage!
Oh!
From Taewei to flicker forward. And a guiding win! Chasing back. Geek Fam trying to run away. Nile with a 3-man taunt. Nile with some damage. Nile knocked up. Carry 1 HP. Will it be able to get the kill? No, it's Tewe! Once again, Boots walks forward. One member left standing. The Appraiser's Wrath gets one, but Tewe has been left untouched.
Keyboy, the only casualty in that long-drawn fight. Onyx!
Whoa.
Lusans, however, can they push for the end?
I don't think it's enough. I don't think a boy can defend this all alone. He buys the immortality. He tries to delay the inevitable. And Onyx are the inevitable. A full barrage right in the face of a boy. Onyx, the Sky Kings, as dominant as ever. It's match point.
Geek Fam are down to the wire in this full best-of-7 series. Everything pinned against them. This is no longer a best-of-5. This is no longer a 2-0. Geek Fam will have to pull a miracle. They will have to pull a 4-0 consecutive game win if they still want to take this grand finals.
Oof. So now we know the true meaning of what CW is. Not Calvin Winata, not Tewe as in girl in Indonesian, but consistently winning, Wolf. You're right.
Ooh, that's just how it is. But no, kidding aside, I think this is on this Onyx form. Man, I think that they might have been smurfing the first few days of MPL playoffs.
I gotta say, CW as well as Keyboy played exceptionally well, and honestly, in the early stages of the game, even Eterna as Arashi as well as Mirko, shouldn't the one with the Rafaela.
Want to see the show on Keyboy? You had to do it. What do you want to see on Geek Fam? LaFell.
He's thinking.
He's stumped.
Uranus.
Uranus wasn't on my mind.
Uranus was definitely on my mind in this series because it means that you fully commit on protecting your Bruno this time. The carry for Geek Fam, Marky, the solution. Will he make it this time? It's gonna be difficult. I still love the Florin pick because it means that even when you dive the Irithel this time, or if you can dive the Irithel, there still is that insurance policy. And the Florin plus the Paquito, what it allows is for the Paquito to be extremely powerful in flanking because you're not afraid. You have a heal.
Smells like a 4-0 to me.
Smells like a 4-0 to you? Is this a LaFell curse?
Ooh. I'm trying.
You're trying.
I'm trying.
And it
doesn't work that way, man.
It looks like you gotta try harder. Right? It's down to the line. Ladies and gentlemen, one more point the Sky Kings will need to secure the championship title, to secure a three-peat for themselves for the first time in MPL ID history. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the land of dawn for potentially the final, the last time.
Geek Fam have found themselves in this position before. It was up against RRQ, another king. Now will the usurpers be able to at least get a game? It's a one-step plan right now.
It's gonna be difficult. They're trying to out-sustain Onyx. That's the baseline, the base strategy they always fall back on. If we can out-sustain you and then let Marky just demolish everyone, that can work. But with the Florin, with the additional healing and the negation of the healing reduction effect that the Florin can apply now, it's gonna be very difficult. In a way, Onyx might even be able to out-sustain Geek Fam, and especially with the bloom that it can be given to Irithel, to CW, it's going to be even more damage on the Irithel.
And it just gets really hard for the side of Geek Fam in this position, but they're doing really well in the early game. Look at that, utilizing the 2v1 very well, using the trades, using that man advantage to create a good shove in and to force Sans away to make him miss some XP and gold.
It's definitely a lot different to what we saw from the first 3 games, but one of my concerns is after the early game passes, after it elapses, in the mid towards the late, when everyone is going to be centering around neutral objectives, these are when the 5v5 team fights begin. Who from the side of Geek Fam will be able to shut CW down in the back line?
Technically, kind of, in the early game, the Uranus can kind of do that. A boy can still dive in the back as well. But that's where they have to be careful. They can't really walk through just all this damage coming in from Onyx and just expect to leave unscathed. And to do that, they have to make sure that Luke does not get taken out.
Uh-oh, Praetor's Wrath dodged away from. Good sprint by Luke to get out of harm's way. Now, it's a big advantage that Geek Fam have over the first turtle. Niall already pushing forward, jumping even forward with the help of the Holy Healing. A boy trying to zone Kyrie away, but he still is able to find that taunt. Keyboy getting a good stun in. And now it's Geek Fam on that turtle. Kyrie still with a taunt, zoned away by Luke. He has that dash. Heavy spin prevents them back, and now it's going to be the retribution from Niles. He pins Kyrie down. The baptism even here, but another realm helps him for a bit. It's now Boots getting brought back by that Stampede, and Onyx are forced back for the first time in this series.
And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. A reset coming in with Geek Fam being able to win this first neutral objective. Let's hope they can try and look for a domino effect in this early game.
Especially in the early game, the sustain is just a big problem for Onyx. But the silver lining is that they have a lot more damage later on down the line, and they have good wave clear. If they want to play that macro-heavy style, they have the Erythal, they have the Lilia. They can really clear waves out before Geek Fam make the push, and they can allow Boots to try and be a bit more dynamic here as CW just chunks Beloyski down.
So in this matchup, right, everyone has kept talking about the supremacy of Rafaela in the gold lane, but when you compare it to a Florin, what's that matchup like?
The Florin Rafaela, I think the Florin is a bit more passive, a bit more unreliable when it comes to the healing, because you need to have targets to apply your skills to in order to heal your teammates. Later on though, it's a lot bigger of a burst of healing, and in a way, there's more playmaking potential for the Florin because of the more spammable stun compared to the Holy Baptism. So I think in this case, in this scenario, there's more chances for Keyboy to make plays, but not in the front line. Because now there's a bit more range available to him. There's no reason for him to step up so far.
So we're expecting that this gold lane still favors the Bruno.
No,
but with that being said, Marky is behind on gold here.
Yeah, I think the Erythal definitely has an advantage in this lane. And because of that Rafaela, it does even out the odds, but Onyx have the same kind of healer. You have Keyboy on this floor, and sure, not as much more consistent healing, but because you already have the winning trades on for the Erythal, all you need to do is really farm. Use your abilities to farm to get to that point. You don't need to try to outscale the Bruno. You'll do that in the mid game anyways. Bruno needs to wait for, what, the third item before he really gets online.
And this is when things get a little bit different, because both of these roamers, the ones that we've been discussing for the past few minutes, they're now going to be trying to help out for this setup in the neutral objective take. Kyrie, level 6.
Oh, he used the retreat. That means the turtle will be done for. It will be for Geek Fam. That was also already a 2-level lead for Niall. A good decision, in my opinion, for Onyx to just retreat that orange buff. Not 100% secure, but now it only gives Geek Fam more pressure to invade the jungle. Kyrie jumps in, gets a bit of damage, but Niall wins out on that trade, even with the help of the healing from Keyboy on this Florin. Kyrie jumping forward once again, but it should be Niall who secures it, and yes, he does. Beloyski, no mana though, and that's a dive attempt from a boy. It's all just to distract Onyx to get that turret up top, and yes, they'll be able to crack it up. Kyrie looking for an opening again in these skirmishes, but Geek Fam so far have been able to actually stop these engages from happening.
Kyrie is suffering. Miracle Arashi, Kyrie's suffering. He is 2 levels below. Ooh. That was close. That was close. But back to the point. Niall is level 9. Meanwhile, Kyrie's is level 7. Is this Geek Fam strategy winning, or is it just Onyx trying to just funnel everything onto the gold lane and wait for CW to come online?
I think it's an effective strategy. They get the pressure in the EXP lane, and they use the early obnoxiousness of the Uranus to try and stop Kyrie, absorb damage, and by out-sustaining, pushing back Onyx, finding info, letting the rest of Geek Fam make the right calls. But you can see, it Boots, knowing that this is the case, tries to make an impact. He has damage, but it's just not at that point yet. He needs a bit more items, and you have to question if he's gonna go for that utility playstyle, or seeing how desperate the situation is, maybe he'll go for a bit more damage and try and take matters into his own hands.
They still have that mid-game power spike. Onyx, Lilia, the Erythal, and I would say even the Paquito here has that mid-game power spike, and it's quite big. Meanwhile, for Geek Fam, the Bruno really needs to wait for him to really get going, but so far he's doing really good in the farm department. He's gotten 2 turrets. That might actually speed up the process from that late-game power spike to a mid-game power spike for Marky as they go for it. Voloisky knocked up, almost changed CC, but is able to flicker out. Now Boots with a good flank onto Marky, splitting him up. Now it's gonna be the heavy spin from Niall, secures it, pins Kyrie down, no follow-up. Marky's all the way in the back, has to use the worldie defensively as Boots gets pulled back by the Stampede, not so much through the wall. And now it's Onic against Luke. Just trying to kind of wait. What happened to Boots? In the mid lane, assassinated by the Panda. Niall and Appraiser's Wrath not dealing enough onto Luke. He's still able to escape for now, putting the stacks onto CW. That's a heavy crossbow, an aggressive one. Luke running away and getting to safety.
The amount of space that Luke has been able to afford the team, denying away this lack of damage coming in from Onic as well. It has been immense. It has been one of the sole reasons as to how GeekFam have been able to take control of this game so far. 4,000 a gold lead, and they've had all the turtles. Perfect turtle.
Oh, Niall's going in. Wait a minute. That's a knock-up into it. Heavy spin. It's a good flicker out from Keyboy, but Luke is right there. Now zone away. GeekFam look to disengage from this failed pickoff.
Man, that's just a lot of pressure right here for GeekFam, pushing the tempo as much as possible, trying to make sure that Onic can't really have a way to recover right here. They know in the late game that even though everyone's so tanky, there is gonna be tons of damage and AoE coming from the heavy crossbow as well as the angry glue from Sans. They want to try and end the game before that happens, but Onic as well, they're no pushovers and they know how to defend and bring things into the late game. So far, with all the turrets taken, now it's going to be a bit more difficult for GeekFam to decide which lane they really want to bring people to, because that's where it gets confusing. We talk about how Onic are always able to stay on curve, always able to find some gold, and in the laning phase, people are moving in a more predictable manner. Now that the laning phase is technically over, Onic can try and do something a bit more creative.
And this is pressure now for GeekFam, but look at this.
Pressure onto Keyboy, who's now forced to use the Bloom. Able to escape for now. Niall still holding onto the heavy spin, now locked down by the taunt, by the knockup, but he still saves it for the Lord. No Bloom, big resource burnt out, no Baptism, an okay resource. They still are relying on the heavy spin. Oh, that damage. Look at that 2-level lead on Marky.
Well, take a look at Boots right now though. He's trying to do what Uranus does, but on the Paquito, and it seems like it's kind of working. That's the macro play that Onic can really take advantage of, and look at Luke trying to match it, but his team at the same time now have to fight without that main frontliner.
It's a good Stampede, bringing Kyrie back. Look at Sans getting melted down, forced to use the Black Shoes very early on, and they might have to concede this here. Onic, Kyrie looking for the opening, but Niall is still holding on to the heavy spin. Kyrie backs away, knowing there is no chance of taking this. It's just a trade in the mid lane by Boots. Meanwhile, Luke gets chunked by the Appraiser's Wrath, but it's a Uranus. It's going to be very easy for him to just walk out of there.
It's a 4,000 gold lead now for GeekFam in the 9th minute of the game. The question is, with Marky already picking up that item, a core item for his build, for the Bruno, a little bit more penetration, the Malefic Roar, and CW, I think, at Berserker Fury. How far off are they?
Yeah, at this point, Marky can definitely out-damage CW.
Yes.
And it's going to be very difficult because of the crits, right, off the kit of the Bruno, which brings additional damage without using the ultimate. For Irithel, the heavy crossbow is what needs to actually be available if CW wants to try and match the damage output. So GeekFam are the ones now hiding back and forth instead. And with this Lord, they're trying to siege, but they do not have too much long range either.
Good knock onto a boy, forcing another realm. Kyrie now running away, but now gets pinned down. Brought back to the team as well. Goes in for the taunt, but another realm still there. Kyrie surviving somehow with the Bloom, and now the Appraiser's Wrath as well. Onic have an opening. Do they use it? Look at the damage from Marky jumping in. CW forced to use a Purify. Bounce! Has found an opening, brings Marky back, and that's the death that Onic needs. One moment, and the gold laner is gone. Is that enough to bring this game back for Onic?
It happened once, but now, right after that fight, Voloisky has finished the Flask of the Oasis. It will no longer be as simple, but I guess that's why I think Onic has anticipated that, which is why you can see that Boots, instead of going for the sprint, the preferable battle spell, or going for those split push heavy maneuvers, he's going with the flicker. He's trying to make plays happen for his team, knowing that there's a limited amount, because Keyboy can't really be as volatile, as dynamic as he usually is.
And I find that so ironic because Boots was all the way at the top, ran down to the bottom, to the depths where Geek was, and was able to make that huge play onto Marky, trying to level out the field as we take a look at the items here.
Well, what's interesting for me right now is the lack of healing, man. There's not a lot of Dominant Ices, not a lot of Necklace of Endurances. I think people are just prioritizing the damage items first to ensure that in a pick-off scenario, when they can capitalize on mistakes, they will have enough and hopefully take out targets before the healing becomes a factor. If that's the consideration for both these teams, Onyx has a bit of an edge because the ulti from Florin, the Bloom, is global.
And now it's the waiting game. For Geek Fam, that's what they're doing. They're waiting. For Onyx, they're constantly looking for an opening back into this game. Just one slight mistake. Maybe a used resource. No heavy spin for the next neutral objective. Some poke. The Geek Fam are effectively neutralizing that by their discipline.
Sans has a lot of cooldown and a lot of mana regen. He has the Enchanted Talisman finished already. The damage is where it's still a bit lacking. He is building up to another item. I'm curious to see what it's gonna be though. Is it gonna be a bit more of the Ice Cream one? Actually no, it's gonna be NOD immediately. So now healing reduction is available for Onyx.
Oh, they found Marquee. Forced to flicker out. That might be the resource that they were waiting for now. No Marquee with a flicker. Sans, Black Shoes. Kyrie versus Niall. Kyrie down to a quarter of his HP right now, but he does have that Appraiser's Wrath fully stacked up. Look at Boots into the back line. He's looking for a flag right now. It's a heavy spin connection to the back, but Boots does the same thing right now. It's Niall who secures the retribution, but CW is looking for a good flank. Used the heavy crossbow already. Keyboy gets gunned down or balled down there. Marky in the midst of it all though. Boots unable to dish out enough damage. Kyrie running for the hills. Now ran down by Luke. Finds the top one hit, but it's going to be disengaged by Boots. Kyrie will fall to the hands of Niall. Geek Fam, this might be the moment to secure a game. It's Boots running away with two dashes. A holy baptism connects. The Panda knocks him up. That's why he's called the Dragon Warrior. He does the damage and he's tanky. Who picks up the final kill there, and Sans is the final member left standing. Geek Fam, they have done it. Through the underworld, the depths of the lower brackets, they have taken a game off of Onyx. And just like what Wolf said, a match point is where the series really starts.
The pendulum shifts instantly, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to game number 5. Wolf, LaFell, how are we feeling?
I would say this game, entering the entire series, Look has been telling everyone, look at me. Because even in the early stage of the game, he took attention of 3 members of Onyx and then just keep adding more and more and more and more and more. Look is really making sure that Onyx doesn't get to decide what they want to do.
And this time,
Bruh.
And honestly, a lockdown hero would be great to give that 1-1, to get that 1-1 online. Something like a Kaja even, right? Yeah. You put the Divine Judgment on, you get the crossbow attack, and you isolate effectively the rest of the team back. Cho works very well as well, but the thing is, you're up against a Bruno, someone that can't go for that Purify. But I like it. Either way, it could force... Well, now, you're forced to go for Flicker.
yeah.
Man, this is quite the old meta. I think it was from very familiar long ago. Kaja and the 1-1, right? The days of the 1-1 domination, where Miracle was also a very avid player. I think you can pour a lot of insight into this matchup, but what do you think, man?
This matchup 1v1 against Bruno? Oh, Bruno wins hard. This is a matchup that 1-1's not really a good laner right now. Trading-wise as well, you used to have a stun, back to an immobility, you still used to have a lot of damage with your weakness points, now not so much. You really need to bank on your items, you really need to wait for that, and you really need to get the Kaja there to help you, to enable you.
Onyx late game is great. I think this is championship game for them.
I refuse to participate.
Good.
All right. Thank you, LaFell.
Who's the 5th?
The curse will not prevail in this game. What game is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th game of this best of 7 series. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the Wings are in the land of Dawn as we enter the game for, again, match points. Geek needs to go for a miracle run. Can they succeed getting another point under the nose of the Sky Kings?
Seems like for both these teams, the idea is that, we tried that sustainable build, the healing heavy build before. Maybe it's not that. So now with 2 assassins right here, the jungle neutral objective contest is going to look so different. It's going to be very steel heavy, mechanically heavy, and Keyboy now trying to make the most of this Kaja pick, but he might just get punished.
Ooh, Flicker already early on.
Wow.
From Keyboy. Now we take a look at the emblems by Dunia Games, Arashi.
Well, Keyboy doesn't have that pull yourself together, so he's still going to be Agility, Wilderness Blessing, trying to match the movement speed, but Mathilda, then the Lilia, are going to be a lot more active roaming around. What's important to note, though, is the tenacity is available for Onyx. They're expected to go up against burst damage, and CW is going with an Inspire. It's potentially outplay potential, but it's very, very risky.
I like how you mentioned that, right? Because that's the entire theme that we saw from the early phase of GeekFam's draft. They want to be able to control this early game, and the question is how? The question is through really quick wave clear in the mid side. Already Lilia alone is super quick, but in addition with Beloyski on the Matilda, it also gives a little layer, but Kyrie wants to punish in the bottom lane. Doesn't necessarily get it just yet, but it does kind of even it out in this particular lane that CW is supposed to lose.
This is how you get a win on that 1-1, right? You're so weak in lane that you are a bait, literally, that you can utilize to get the opposing jungler or gold laner aggressive, and that way you can create a lot of kill pressure for the assassin.
CW special.
CW special.
CW special. So the question is, what happens in the EXP lane? But wait a minute.
Let's see, it's Nile jumping in with a puncture, only onto the mid lane. Oh, some good damage placed onto Sans as Kyrie jumps in with the cables. A boy taking very low, forced to use the black shoes. But Onyx are forced back here after that burst of damage.
So back to that question. If this is what we're expecting from the mid, that's what we were expecting from the gold lane. What are we expecting from the EXP lane?
This is an all-out brawl until later on, where the Edith can maybe do some more DPS, but Beloyski, pre-level 4 now, Boost trying to capitalize.
Appraisers, Wrath, oh, even in the bottom lane, it's Sans who picks up the kill. That bait has worked out. Now Kyrie jumping in, not able to find it, but a taunt from Boots knocks Niall up with the help of that skill too. Onyx picks up a kill for a turtle.